What if I told you that the anxiety you feel isn't a sign that something is wrong with you, but a signal that you're finally ready to wake up? Every day, millions of Americans are scrolling through social media, stuck in traffic, sitting in meetings, lying awake at 3 a.m., and their minds are running in circles. The news is chaos. The future is uncertain. The pressure to succeed is relentless. Here's what I've noticed. We treat anxiety like a disease. We try to medicate it, suppress it, ignore it. But ancient wisdom, specifically the Bhagavad Gita, tells us something radically different. It says, your anxiety is a portal. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover what a 5,000-year-old dialogue between a warrior and his charioteer reveals about the epidemic of modern anxiety, and more importantly, how you can transform it into unshakable inner peace. If you're ready to explore the hidden teachings behind anxiety, hit that subscribe button. Let's dive in. So, picture this. You're standing in the middle of a battlefield. On one side are your friends, your family, everyone you've ever loved. On the other side are people who want to take everything from you. And in that moment, your body freezes. Your mind goes blank. Your heart is pounding so hard you can barely breathe. And you think, I can't do this. This isn't a scene from a movie. This is where the Bhagavad Gita begins. Arjuna, the greatest warrior of his time, finds himself completely paralyzed by anxiety. The entire Bhagavad Gita, 701 verses, is a conversation with his friend and charioteer, Krishna, who becomes his therapist, his coach, and his guide. And here's the thing. Arjuna's anxiety wasn't about the battle itself. It was about the outcome. Modern science tells us that anxiety is rooted in the same thing: fear of the future, fear of loss, fear of uncertainty. A 2025 study published in the Indian Journal of Positive Psychology found that meditation and mindfulness, practices central to the Gita, directly improve brain function related to emotional control and stress management. Universities like Harvard, MIT, and Stanford are now studying ancient contemplative practices to understand why they work. But here's what's fascinating. The Gita doesn't tell Arjuna to run away from the battle. It doesn't tell him to meditate in a cave until his anxiety disappears. Instead, Krishna gives him a completely different answer, one that science is only beginning to understand. So, what is that answer? Here's the core teaching. Krishna says to Arjuna, you have the right to perform your duty, but not to the fruits of your actions. Bhagavad Gita 2.47. Now, let me translate that into plain English. You are responsible for the effort, but not for the outcome. The Gita calls this karma yoga, the path of action without attachment. Your anxiety is evidence that you've become addicted to controlling what you can't control. Think about it. Your boss gives you a project. You want it to be perfect. You want the promotion. You want the recognition. You stress over every detail because your happiness depends on the result. And the more you care about the result, the more anxiety you create. But the Gita asks, what if you gave your absolute best and then let it go? There's a powerful verse in chapter 2, verse 56. One who is not disturbed by sorrow, who does not crave pleasure, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a person of steady wisdom. The Sanskrit word here is stita prajna, someone whose awareness stands steady, unmoved by life's ups and downs. The Gita compares this person to a tortoise that withdraws its limbs into its shell. The world still exists, chaos still happens, but the person of steady wisdom remains centered. This is the essence of the Gita's message: action without attachment, responsibility without anxiety, and a steady mind in the face of life's fluctuations. But the wise person is no longer affected by it. Here's where it gets really interesting. Krishna doesn't tell Arjuna to stop feeling. He doesn't say, just relax, dude. He says, allow yourself to be anxious, because you are a person living in the world. But don't get influenced by the anxiety. Perform your duty, but don't get influenced by the results. This is huge. The Gita is saying that anxiety itself isn't the problem. The problem is your relationship to anxiety. You're trying to eliminate fear. But what if you just stopped being ruled by it? Krishna explains that every action produces 3 kinds of results: good, bad, or mixed. You wanted a promotion and you got it. Good. You wanted a promotion and you got fired. Bad. You got the promotion but now your boss hates you. Mixed. The Gita says you can't control which one you get, so why exhaust yourself trying? The Stita Pradna, the person of steady wisdom, still experiences pain, disappointment, and difficulty. The difference is that these experiences no longer hijack the mind. They pass through without turning into panic, rumination, or despair. This is what ancient wisdom calls the difference between pain and suffering. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds nice, but where's the science? Good question. Let's connect the dots. The Gita teaches that regulating your breath prepares the mind for meditation by reducing fear and promoting clear thinking. In Bhagavad Gita 5:27-28, Krishna describes a practice that sounds remarkably like modern mindfulness. Shutting out external distractions, focusing the gaze between the eyebrows, equalizing the flow of the breath, and controlling the senses, mind, and intellect. Freedom from desire, fear, and anger. In 2025, a comprehensive scientific review published in Brain Research confirmed that pranayama, the ancient yogic practice of breath control, works as a natural form of neuromodulation. The researchers found that specific breathing techniques influence autonomic function, enhance cognitive performance, and affect brain dynamics in ways that parallel modern medical interventions like transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS, and vagus nerve stimulation, VNS. Translation: the breath control practices described in the Gita are now being validated by neuroscience as effective tools for managing anxiety, depression, and stress. Let me give you a concrete example. In 2023, a randomized controlled trial compared 3 different breathing patterns: cyclic sighing, box breathing, and cyclic hyperventilation. Participants practiced just 5 minutes a day for 1 month. All 3 groups showed significant improvement in mood and reduction in anxiety, with cyclic sighing, extended exhalations, showing the greatest benefit. Think about that. 5 minutes a day, nothing else, and measurable changes in the brain and nervous system. This is what the Gita has been teaching for thousands of years. Control your breath, control your mind. Now science is telling us exactly why it works, through vagus nerve stimulation, autonomic regulation, and changes in brainwave patterns. There's another fascinating connection. The Gita describes the concept of Atma, the eternal soul, as something beyond the body, mind, and emotions. Modern studies on consciousness at universities like Princeton and Northwestern are exploring whether awareness exists independent of brain activity. A 2026 clinical trial from Northwestern University is even testing whether ancient dream yoga practices, combined with wearable technology, can reduce anxiety by engaging the brain during sleep. The point is this: science isn't replacing ancient wisdom, it's catching up to it. The Gita doesn't ask you to believe in anything, it invites you to experiment. Let the evidence speak for itself. Okay, let's bring this home. You're busy, you have deadlines, bills, family obligations, and maybe even a spiritual itch you're not sure how to scratch. How do you actually apply the Gita's teachings to your anxiety? Here are 3 practical steps you can start today. The 3-minute Krishna pause. Whenever you feel anxiety rising, stop. Take 3 conscious breaths. Exhale longer than you inhale. This activates the vagus nerve and calms the nervous system. During those 3 minutes, say to yourself, I am responsible for my effort. I am not responsible for the outcome. This isn't about bypassing your feelings. It's about creating space between you and the anxiety. 2. The karma log. At the end of each day, write down 2 things: your best action and the outcome you couldn't control. This simple practice trains your mind to distinguish between what's in your power and what isn't. Over time, you start to see patterns, and you realize that many of your worries are about things you were never meant to control in the first place. 3. The detachment check. When you find yourself clinging to a result, a promotion, a relationship, approval from others, ask yourself, if this doesn't go my way, will I still be okay? The answer is always yes. The Gita teaches that your essence, the Atma, is untouched by any external circumstance. You are not your job. You are not your bank account. You are not even your thoughts. There's an old saying, the ancient sages called it Maya, the illusion of reality. When you're deep in anxiety, you think, this is real, this is permanent, this is who I am. but the Gita invites you to see that these are just thoughts passing through. You are the awareness that notices them. Let's summarize. The Bhagavad Gita teaches us that anxiety is not a disease to be cured, but a signal that we've become too attached to outcomes we can't control. It shows us that the path to peace isn't avoiding the battlefield, it's showing up, giving your best, and letting go of the result. We've seen how science is now confirming what the sages knew thousands of years ago. Breath control, mindfulness, and detachment from outcomes are powerful tools for managing anxiety and creating inner stability. So, here's my final question for you. Have you ever noticed that your anxiety disappears when you're fully present, when you're so engaged in what you're doing that you forget to worry? What if the goal isn't to eliminate anxiety, but to stop being ruled by it? What if the peace you're seeking isn't somewhere in the future, waiting for everything to go right, but right here, right now, in the space between your thoughts? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments below. If this video resonated with you, please give it a like and share it with someone who's struggling with anxiety right now. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. We've got so much more to explore together. In the next video, we're going to dive into what quantum physics has to say about the soul's journey. You won't want to miss it. Until then, remember, you are not your anxiety. You are the awareness that notices it.